In a world like this, no matter the state of which it may ever be, there is always time to learn. Not only is there time, it is convenient at every turn. For each turn has its ups and downs, as is the need to learn the very turn itself, standing back from the crowd and approaching the crowd alike, shifting from one gear to another, situating life. We adapt by the day. We don't realize it. Our situation of grief is not necessarily as bad as another. We don't realize it. However, just as you may be scared to approach the turn, doesn't mean you can't make the turn. Doesn't mean others haven't done it in a similar, if not worse situation than you. Doesn't mean you cannot adapt to such motion, and in preparing yourself with smaller, more self-controlled turns. While you are on a turn, everyone else is also actually. Even when you don't think you aren't on a turn, you are. Perfectly straight? In nature, a perfect balance is one that can be achieved and may have been achieved through nature. However, the word perfect is faulty in perception. We may, however, seek to learn and become perfect in simply the view of optimization. It must be stated that despite the many turns, some will claim to be on the straight path, that they may ultimately be the ones who help cut the curb. However, the truth is, that is only something you can do. It is your path. Many so-called gurus or guides or mentors out there in different forms, often of individuals, loving to title themselves and embrace this giving relationship, will self-contradict themselves by the very nature of their fake inspiration, often relying on their presence and technology alike. The optimistic view of life isn't to be put down. However, the one view, or even alternative view of life, is often indeed due to their surrounding influences. Indeed, while there is face value, there is value that surrounds it, just as any turn is not of itself, for nature is infinite and abundant. A turn is that of a select section of surrounding elements. You feel the need to follow the turn, for it was a path laid. It may even have boundaries of its own, even imaginary through use of color or appeal. My job was never to constantly inspire you, but it is my role and duty as a human being to help you think differently and always more openly. As I will also admit, many may always do better than myself at this. These thoughts come to me of relevant focus, of need of focus, of showing people the already present hope. Not that they have to go out and find it necessarily, but that they ought to simply accept and connect, to which then the consistent question is, to what? How? Why? It is said by Mark Passio that the trivium is the true scientific method in its problem-solving methodology. You may live in a different world for which every individual is already different, every condition is already different, but you can learn in this world, whatever it may be. For even speaking of the turns may not matter when we realize the roots to what goes down that turn, what the turn actually is, as described, and therefore seeing the bigger picture, the bigger potential, responsibility, and focus. It's on you, and it's on nature. Sure, we have parts of ourselves that come into manifestation and being through time, but guess what? If you believe that, you've also come to learn it. We teach ourselves, sometimes a little too much, sometimes a little too little. When you realize that your simple presence is living your life, when you realize that your simple freedom of speech and controversy is you expressing your life, and therefore promoting nature by doing so, let me ask you, why do individuals steer away from such? May you say they even steer away from such naturally? Indeed, they are, often out of fear, and they teach themselves this fear. They embrace it, they live it. And you may be likely somebody who knows about fear being a big contributor to problems, yet you seem to have fear when it comes to this expression or living? To some extent, we all do, because we are humans living in a more or less human world. The human world is nature. That being said, we can learn technology. But there are still human minds behind that technology, and how does nature and technology affect us as human beings? Some may make the case that technology is neutral and does not contribute to the problems of the world, and that it is ultimately us. While I wouldn't disagree with that viewpoint simply isn't of the bigger picture. Technology came of nature, just as you did by your very birth. While such discussion is more of that of which is another, it is important to realize that you should never bet out anything fully, and that you may contradict yourself time and time again simply due to the lack of guiding direction. You may live a unique life with unique experiences, or at least within your environment contributing to this direction. Or perhaps you are connected with many individuals who are, although here to guide you, may not understand you fully, or even moreover, you may not understand yourself. However, that turn I just took there is not the case, as many individuals would like for it to be for themselves. Do not blame yourself. A great sign of innocence in wanting to learn is this very act of blaming oneself. Am I saying that everyone needs guidance? Yes, and in different ways that technology cannot and should not provide. Technology should be complementary, and if it's to be used, or it is the primary thing used among this troubleshooting situation, it should best be closest to be used as much as a human tool as possible. That means transparency and interaction. Technology is mostly used for interaction in the first place, and most celebrities often gain their very following online by seemingly looking to be relatable, or simply in good manner, or simply seeming genuine to their audience. When I mean interaction also, I do not necessarily mean by technology itself. We are not trying to train humans how to be less human by not wanting to interact with other humans or fearing on how to in the first place. Again, see your ups and downs here. I'm sure you have some leverage over others in different great degrees. Do not strive for perfection, otherwise you will never produce content. Strive for contentment. That is the content. And you will strive for optimization. It's alike making a customer happy upon giving a service, but also making sure you are able to sustain yourself in such providing. It provides the perfect feedback loop of the fruits of labor. Just as it should be the fruits, it should grow, it should be nourished, it should have care, it should be tended to often, it should be sweet, and it best be vibrant. The fruit or the fruit tree will not maintain its health without these conditions, and the same goes for finance, and the same goes for this journey we all live about with one another. Indeed, we are bound to run into others upon different turns, and we should probably be best ready upon each turn, for turns are where most casualty often likely occurs. This is a group effort, for 50 travelers on one road ought to direct the traffic accordingly. Else one, and therefore always several travelers, may end up not in accordance, not in harmony. The same again goes back to the fruit tree, where one branch goes to the next, one seed to the next, one fruit to one body, and so on. One person can never change the world without another. One person is never to blame. A manifested force of learning comes to be. Directly addressing these very fruits of subjects within themselves helps bring more transparency to your own situation, or in addressing others upon your own situation. For you hear this alone, hear your interpretations, not simply mine. The world can be crazier than ever at any time, and it is just important that you not only prepare physically, mentally, spiritually, and so forth, but that you help others do the same. And just because you are, or you're getting out there in different ways, does not mean you ever let your guard down or ever let the forces get to your physical, mental, or spiritual holistic health. In fact, in many mass situations of the world, it is of greatest learning from nature, or of greatest deception and manipulation from man. If we teach each other wisely during such times, we will emerge as our best, most optimal human selves. It is likely impossible you haven't inspired someone else by now within your own life. Whoever you may be, indeed, whoever, even someone who looks down upon their past, for those who have wrong done to them may learn some valuable lessons as long as they are able to recover, like the immune system upon learning new germs it gets in contact with. Again, we are adapting by the day, and it is important we also do so by one another and to nature itself amidst the many influences indirectly by man and influences of detached natures. There is a difference between wanting to inspire and simply speaking from the heart. Again, understanding the situation of true content is to speak from the heart to inspire. But it feels good to inspire for the heart instead. Indeed, you are attracting, but what are you actually doing? Such question goes out to those supposed gurus of different kinds. Do not contradict yourself. I speak these words for us both to learn together, starting with the heart, then to the mind, then to the guts. Everything from writing to reading to understanding to listening to creating to looking to the bigger picture. Being that so much of the modern world is of the mind and it creates conflict with the others, I focus on the heart and on the guts. It is often indeed because the knowledge for that of the mind is already present, and those are the surrounding steps, instead of being in the middle of nowhere or in the confusion of clouds. Again, the surrounding helps determine the turns. Most people are living their life itself as a turn on the mind, indeed, a war on the mind, therefore then also the others. However, the fixation on the mind can also off-put. So is all this much to take account for? No, actually. It is indeed just as simple as presence and heart and content and guts. But it's for you to figure out and how to use. Ultimately, with the greater wisdom from nature, we may all be able to provide one another. Therefore, this isn't just a solo job. It is a job for us all. It is the fruits of a labor to help one another, because in this case the fruit is love and health and all things that come from love, to which it is also often the labor, a mirrored relationship, like what the health coach should do with their client. If understanding is for unity and unity is for change, then it does come down to embrace, learning, appeal, and all such topics mentioned. You are not to fear, but you may have rightful anger that the more you wake up to this world, and you understand all aspects of it, including that and in relationship to and from nature. This anger may often be due to the knowing of causality, the simple word for knowing natural law or the law of cause and effect. Particular effects come from particular causes. This applies to all things. If you seek to be transparent in even your lack of words, even your midst of confusion, even your very being of self and emotion, do it if it helps clear the path, for that is what transparency is there to do in the first place. Just again, don't take the turn too long or too intensified, alike inflammation and information. Perhaps you understand the very notion itself that people should learn. Well, why do things happen? It's a question literally asking for the cause. It is asking for natural law. It is ingrained in society, and when it is recognized at the greater scale, we realize the cause of evil forces that do not need to grow or manifest. Therefore, it is no wonder why this learning process, although being the learning process itself, is not taught in schools or education to the extent of truly connecting dots and opening the mind and utilizing tools such as the natural law or trivium. If we truly want to free ourselves and be more of love, we truly learn, alike how we know what is a mistake and what is love, what is right, what is wrong, what is truth, what is ourselves. When I also ask this, that does not refer to so-called science at all. It refers to nature. The world needs not a new figure in supposed power, for which the very nature is immoral. The world needs a mass awakening and shift in consciousness through use of the mind, heart, and guts, soul, spirituality, physically, mentally, and so forth. Use all the resources you have, all the problems of the current world there is, to demonstrate this great learning potential we have, for the greater the learning potential, the greater the human potential. Free yourself through expression and transformation, not suppression and information. I love you. Your voice is necessary as a fellow being of consciousness. So express it before more people suppress it and lose it. And all that is fun and expressive and original is not living its optimal standards and is not even present and is rather imitated and manipulated. See, evil feeds on all that is opposite and inverted. Do not fall. Rise. If you are doing nothing, you will not rise. And if everyone is doing nothing and nobody is speaking out about present truths, you will fall among many. In today's world, many are falling when they need not. Nature intends not. So work with nature. Work with these truths and observations. Thank you. Nature is the answer. There is work to be done. Fear nothing and open up to all. Close to none. Rise with all, not one. Fall with none. Fight with your all. Rise to naturally fall. For and with all, it is a rise. In not fall to rise with none. The greater evidence has arisen, but you must arise your greater providence. There is nothing new under the sun, but you decide among as one. Live your ton. Make sure to have fun.